All right, I have 6:30 on my watch. I'd like to call the Village of Cottage Grove Plan Commission meeting to order. It is Wednesday, May 12th at 6:30. We are holding this as a Zoom meeting, and the link is at the top of the agenda, or if you choose to use a phone, there is a call-in number and ID associated with that as well. We'll see if Lisa can call out the commissioners and see if we've got it looks like we've got a quorum, but let's do a roll call, please.
Brinkmeyer.
Here.
Broom.
Here.
Eshison.
Here.
Ratcliffe here. Sale is absent. Schultz.
Here.
And Williams.
Present. All right, we have a quorum. The agenda was properly posted. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please find a flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak about any subject that's not a specific agenda item. I will ask that you share your name and your address and keep your comments to 3 minutes. So just in case we do have a number of individuals who would like to speak. And with that, I will pause and allow anybody to jump in and find their mute button to unmute. All right, we'll then move on to item 5 is discuss and consider the meeting minutes from our last Plan Commission meeting held on April 14th. Any comments or edits or a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 14th.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alex. Motion second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Then item 6 is discuss and consider a request for approval for an ETJ certified survey map from Christopher and Angela Brantner, located at 4890 Pierceville Road in the town of Sun Prairie. There is the CSM attached in the packet. Aaron, any comments on this one?
It's pretty straightforward. It's an existing parcel. They're splitting it into, presumably going to sell off the other half for a building site. It's on the very northeastern edge of our ETJ, an area that we're not likely to grow in, certainly anytime in the foreseeable future, if ever. So it really doesn't affect the village very much at all. So we'd be in favor of approval. And the owners are here if you have any questions for them.
Great. Any questions from commission members for either Aaron or the owners?
I would make a motion to recommend approval for an extraterritorial jurisdiction survey, certified survey map from Christopher and Angela Brantner, located at 4890 Pierceville Road in the town of Sun Prairie.
Thanks, Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Melissa. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you. The applicants know this will be on the village board agenda next Monday, similar format to this.
Yep.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. We'll be here.
Okay. All right. And thanks for coming.
Okay.
You don't have to stick around if you don't want to.
Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one. All right, item 7 is discuss and consider proposed precise implementation plan for Continental Properties for a 288 unit multifamily residential development located in the parcels 0711 091-931-9310-1 and 0711-094-8501-0, and finally 0711-094-8100-4 at the southeast corner of Main Street and East Cottage Grove Road. I'm assuming that Eric is on.
Yep, I'm on. Yep.
All right, you can take it away.
Okay. Hit the share screen. So tonight is not going to be much different than the last couple of meetings that I came in. So what I was going to focus most on tonight is just a discussion of kind of the changes, which are very minor, that we had since we saw you last month at the general development plan approval. So I'm Eric Tolm. I'm the Senior Development Director here. Max Sychak's our land planner. He's on. We also have Ryan Wagner, our engineer, and Peter Reinhofer is our traffic engineer with B3. So if there's any questions tonight as we move along, I'll definitely direct those questions to the appropriate people. But just in general, too fast. So site location, right behind the Wisconsin Bank and Trust, wetland over here, and just a general field right now with an old farmstead that used to be up in here right next to the school. The site layout is not different than the GDP plan. What really provided since the GDP plan submittal was more information based on what's required in the precise implementation plan direction to just make sure that we have everything supplied. So we've got a lot more detail, and per the staff report and the engineering report comments, we agree with all the comments that are in there. So just a quick maybe recap of where we were when we came up at concept plan. Remember, we had the clubhouse facing Main Street. We had a little bit different configuration in here. We've since changed that, and at the GDP, we moved the clubhouse over here, mainly to make sure that traffic was more oriented on Cottage Grove away from Main Street. Since we last met, we've also talked to the Parks Department and had a little bit more detail on what we would propose for the park. So I wanted to go over that real quickly tonight as well. We have come in with a different plan that really shows like a small dog park, one main entrance in here that would be for both parks, for both the large dog park and the small dog park. What the comment that came in, I think it might have been Aaron's report, was really to make this more ADA accessible. We're going to need to do a probably asphalt path from here, from the parking lot, we can do that. But we would like to, and I think the Parks Department agrees, from this point all the way around this path would be a mowed path, would be more low maintenance, a little bit easier to just navigate. There's also, once we get in around this pond, you hit that glacial Drummond topography, so it's a little bit steeper in here. So really, right about in here is probably the right spot for it to end, so that you can go to the small and large dog park. Just a little update too. I've got us on this page. We did complete a wetland delineation as of yesterday. As a matter of fact, the plants are finally far enough emerged, and this line really hasn't changed much, if at all. It shrank maybe a tiny bit, but this is pretty much the same. So on supplemental, we get into the permit plan set, we'll provide that to staff as that comes along. Also wanted to kind of talk about topography. We're really filling in a pretty big portion of the site, especially in here, which is going to make this really flatten out and be a lot more usable in this area. There's a pretty gentle slope that we'll be filling in through here. There is some retaining wall that we're going to have in here that would allow us to raise the site to make this a lot more usable. And we're going to provide that. Retaining wall designs actually should be finishing up next week, so we'll be providing that mid next week during our permit set, so that'll provide some additional information as well. But as you roll around here, this is where the grades kind of touch back to the existing grade on site, which is pretty steep when you get back here. Then up here where the school is, it kind of flattens back out again. So we'd be putting in a chain link fence all the way around this area for the large dog park and the small dog park here. And then you can see again, the path we have right here would be pretty flat still, but then as you would go around the detention area, there is some grade here, especially as you go down, that wouldn't be ADA, and it would just be more for just general walkability for non-ADA folks. We have talked about putting in a fence around this area as well. Potentially, we're going to work with staff on that, but that would be to prohibit folks from coming in to this pond area. We really don't want this utilized very heavily. There is some steep slopes in here, so in order to make sure that we don't have any issues with dogs or kids, we may have to put some additional fencing in this area, just so everybody knows. Finally, we did do upgrades along the Cottage Grove frontage on and attaching some additional tandle stone on the elevation that faces Cottage Grove for the buildings that are facing parallel to it. This is the front and the back of those buildings, but I think it pops a little bit more. Here's the normal look of that building when it's going to be interior to the site, and here's the Cottage Grove road changes with that stone added. So you can kind of see a little better the different pop that that's going to give. And the textures, it's in there. It'll pop even more when you see it on an actual when it's actually built. But I thought this kind of gave you a good contrast on what's going on out there and what we're proposing there as well. With that, that's really what I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm happy to talk about anything else that any other plan commissioner has questions on, but I'll turn it over to staff at this point.
All right, thanks, Eric. Aaron?
For 1 second, my daughter's practicing her ukulele right outside my door. So.
The joys of working from home. Well, we could use some music interludes too between items.
Okay, well, we'll keep that in mind.
All right.
So yeah, we're recommending approval with the set of conditions that are in the staff report. The first two you've seen before, the getting the sign permit and then recording the differences from the base MR12 zoning district. The third one relates to the park. What they're proposing and how they discussed it with the Parks Committee is that Continental is going to build it and then dedicate it to us instead of kind of the more common practice. The developer will give us the money and then we build it. But given some of the grading and things that are kind of in common between the project and the park, it just kind of makes more sense for them to do it. And the Parks Committee was fine with that. And based on cost estimates we've seen, the amount they would be spending to do that would be in excess of what they would owe us in park fees, but we will want to just see the receipts at the end and verify that that's indeed the case. And we'll want them to meet with the Parks Department one more time just to kind of finalize the details, and then that final design will become part of the developer agreement. Number 4, again, in meeting with the Parks Committee, they had proposed that the park would open in 2023. Again, the committee was fine with that, but I think just in the developer agreement, we'll want to make sure there's a firm deadline so it's not dragging on forever. I'm not sure if we will have lighting in the parking lot, but if we do, we'll want to see a photometric and cut sheets of what that lighting would be, make sure we're not shining light on the neighbor's property there. And then finally, number 6, We just want a clean copy of all the PIP submittal documents with any changes that arise from Plan Commission and Village Board and our conditions. A lot of these changes were engineering, so I think Kevin would also have some conditions from his report.
Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, I can go through mine. I'll summarize mine pretty fairly briefly. A lot of these were some of the same ones that were on there previously, and I won't repeat some of the ones that Aaron mentioned either. On our first page of ours, it was just some typo things in the plans, which will get cleaned up as they move forward and things as far as some details. The one comment on there was the sidewalk widths. It looked like a lot of the sidewalks were 3.5 feet. I believe the ADA is 4 feet wide. So just to verify, and we can work with them on those as well. My other comment is I didn't see any ADA stalls in the dog parking area. That might be more of a comment for parks as well, but that would, whether that would expand the parking or reduce the number just to have the ADA access and everything there by one or two or something through there. But like I said, if you're working with parks, I think that'd be a comment that they can talk about as well. Some of the others was just noting some of the curb, which will be, I assume, as they get more closer to final plans and everything, just some more details as to the drainage and everything. I think Eric already mentioned they're working on the structural design of the retaining walls, just so we know it's going to, whatever tiebacks are needed or will stay on the property and everything like that. We noted that it should be noted that the secondary construction access, which is the one off of Main Street, we should try to minimize the use of that, especially during like peak school hours. For sure, as obviously with people picking everything up, it's just more of a backup area there. In general, they did a traffic study, and it basically follows very closely to what WISDOT uses. And in going through that, the results basically show that the operations at the intersections basically work as they have shown, with really no improvements needed. Obviously, we know there's backups right now with school pickup and the school crossings on Main Street there as well. But everything shows that the entrances, as basically they're laid out, do not impact the intersection as well. I do have, when I'm done here too, I do have Brian Hubricks on the phone. If people have questions for him, he's the one that did kind of the more detailed review of their traffic study. If there is interest, he can answer some questions on that if there happens to be as well. That was kind of the general. There's some utility comments, mainly regarding the easements throughout for the public. And we recommend one of the loops, we'll work with them as being like an 8-inch loop for the village that's going through there. And then I think the remainder of the comments were basically all stormwater, and there is some stormwater work that's left to be done. However, in our review of that, we feel there's enough area there set aside that it seems like things would work. It's more pipe sizing. A lot of the plan just kind of shows one size of pipe, which might be, whether it's generic at the moment or whatever, as they're kind of going through the final design of things. But we feel it can, there's enough area set aside. One of the comments we had was obviously the wetlands, which Eric already mentioned that was just getting redone. So the previous one, so that'll assist with any of the permitting and everything as well. I believe that was, like I said, there's quite a few stormwater comments and stuff, but we feel that those can be worked through. It's going to be a lot of pipe sizing and just verifying we can get the storm events through the pipes that they have shown to the pond itself. So that's kind of an abbreviation of my letter that I've got, but we recommended approval with working with us on these comments.
If I may, one additional, maybe two clarifications to Aaron's comments that he had about the lighting up in the parking lot. We weren't proposing any lighting in the parking lot at this point. What we were trying to do, just for background, is make this more of a park that was dusk to dawn, which is typically what you have. We thought if we lit this, that it could be a little bit of a nuisance area right in there. But we'll definitely work with the parks on that. the other thing, the reason why we say 2023 was that we'll get this, we plan on grading this with the entire site, but once we seed it in 2022, we figure it's going to take at least one full growing season before it gets established enough to take that heavy traffic from, dogs and people. So that's why we're proposing to really open this in 2023. Just wanted to give that background.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Eric. Any questions from commissioners?
I have two, John.
Go ahead, Alex.
Aaron, you mentioned the park gets dedicated, the dog park gets dedicated to the village. Is that at that point the village is picks up the maintenance in 2023, or is the village picking up maintenance earlier, or the village is not picking up maintenance? I guess. How does that dedication work? And Aaron, you're muted.
Maybe Rick can weigh in on this as well, but we'll probably have some kind of trigger in the developer agreement. At what point we take it over? If we're just kind of waiting for the grass to grow for that first year anyway, there may not be a lot of maintenance.
Okay. So at the end of the 2023, the village will be maintaining that property, basically.
Yeah.
That's correct. Okay. I guess the second question is in the engineering review, there's a section for utility comments, and then extensive section on stormwater. I guess is there a section for the sanitary? Like is that all going to connect? We have enough pipe. It's going to flow the right directions. We're good there. I guess I didn't notice it in the document. Is that covered? Has that been reviewed? We're happy.
Yep. Sorry, Alex. Yeah, that would be. I would have normally, if there was anything, I would have had that under the utility comments. But yeah, they have sanitary all the way through. It flows out to Main Street, all by gravity, and they've got it shown connecting to all the buildings and everything through there. So I didn't see any issues with it. It's sized appropriately and everything. So I didn't have any comments on it.
Okay, perfect. That's all. Thanks, John.
All right. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
I have a couple questions regarding signage. I noticed there was some information included in our packet. Is it just one monument sign, or?
We're proposing two monument signs, one at each entrance.
Okay, and then only the clubhouse is going to have signage on the building itself?
Correct. Only at the clubhouse we're going to do building signage.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions or comments?
I have a couple, I think. I just wanted to state that I appreciate the information on the dog park and working with Parks Committee on that, and with the ADA accessible path. And it makes sense to me to have it be dawn to dusk, but that's down the road anyway. To go along with the maintenance, something to consider and think about is, and maybe you have already, the gate for a maintenance for a mower to fit through. I don't know if the main entrance gate is big enough or if it needs to be elsewhere. That's something to consider if you haven't already.
No, appreciate that comment. Sean, the Parks Department did bring that up, and we're going to have to work with him on where to put that, where the appropriate place is to put that. If we put it, right next to the main entrance here, or is it more appropriate to put it in a different spot? I think we just have to work through that detail with Parks so we can capture it, but that's definitely a good question.
And then in this, are there separate places for people to take their trash? Where is that located? Are there dumpster areas?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about benches and some other things that the Parks Department want to do later on after this initially opens. Aaron, I don't know if you want to speak to any of that, if you've had some side conversations with Sean on that at all, but
I was meaning for your development. Sorry, for the dog park. Yes, I'm sorry.
We're right here. That's our compactor and everything is the way we do with multifamily, the recyclables and the compactor are right here. We want them near the entrance because when folks leave a community like ours, it's just easy for them to just put it in their car when they're going out to work, drop it off, and go. With the compactor, it kind of reduces the smell and reduces all the bad parts of having garbage. It's a fact of life. But usually we have to empty that compactor maybe once or twice a week, depending on what's going on. And then the recyclables usually once a week.
Okay. And then lastly, if I can ask, I think I saw Chief Archibald on here. Is he still on here? Yes.
Yeah, I'm still on here.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you had reviewed the design and the development and that everything will work for our fire department in case something needs to have the fire department at it.
Yeah, I think the only concern we had was about turning radius, and I think that was all addressed. The only issue that I heard after that was that one of the members suggested putting more trees around the building. So I was just wondering if that was going to affect the turning radius at all with the bucket. If, when the trees start to grow up, are we going to end up clipping trees or hitting trees as we try to make those turns or not?
Yeah, did the plan end up having more landscaping to it, Eric?
We did try to strategically locate landscaping in the areas we talked about. I think we, for the most part, accomplished that. Of course, we had to weigh just what the chief just brought up about, you got to be careful about how close you have them to the buildings, and then how you don't want to block their path and they're bringing in. So I think we were pretty sensitive to all of that. I didn't see any major comments from staff on it. So if there are any, we're happy to address them as they come up.
All right, great. Thank you. And Chief, did that address your concerns?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Melissa. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Otherwise, this is a discuss and consider.
I'll make a motion to approve the precise implementation plan from Continental Properties for the 288-unit multifamily residential development located on the parcels in our Plan Commission agenda number 7, item number 7, at the southeast corner of North Main Street and East Cottage Grove Road.
All right. Thanks, Melissa. Is there a second?
Second.
I think it was
Red's got it.
Red's got it. All right. You gave it up. That's fine, Alex. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstain? Motion carries.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Eric. All right, moving on then to discuss and consider a site plan approval for an approximate 19,600 square foot office light industrial facility on lot number 1 of the CSM 15197 in the Commerce Park at the corner of the southeast corner of Commerce Parkway and Landmark Drive.
John, can I ask just one question real quick? Can I ask who voted no on the last motion?
I think it was
That was me,
John.
Lisa.
John. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. We have folks here.
Yeah. Blake is here from Avid, along with the architect, Jeff Davis. I don't know which of the two of you want to introduce the project, but feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yep. Hey guys, this is Blake from Spring Structures. Jeff is here. Also Nick, our civil engineer. Dylan is here. So I'll just kind of run you through. I'm gonna share my screen here. kind of introduce you to the property. All right. Just real quick. So quickly, the team here is Brock Ryan, who's not here this evening. He's CEO of Avid Risk. Jeff Davis, architect. Dylan Douglas, who's our civil engineer, who is here, and myself, designer, screen structures. A couple quick highlights, just at a glance. The building footprints for phase 1 is 19,610 square feet, with a proposed expansion of 7,525. Number of employees that they're planning on for initial is about 20 to 25. They're planning on getting up to 40 within about 18 months. First phase would have 56 parking spots, so we have extra parking for what's required, and then an additional 12 for that phase 2. This is site plan, just kind of highlighting what that phase 1 would look like on the site plan. We do have a detention pond off to the west, and then we would not have our road go through for phase 1, but in phase 2 we would go all the way through. And that's what phase 2 would then look like, with those additional 12 spots, and then some extra loading bays, loading docks. I just included these in case we want to come back to those. These are the grading plans, as well as landscape plans, and we can come back later if you have questions. The exterior, these are some of our renderings that we've proposed. I know that you've gotten 2 different versions. The first one was a little bit more plain, and we wanted to see if we could add some wood accents. I know that's not in your covenants, but this would be an aluminum product, really durable, won't fade. So we wanted to see if we could try to use that. Again, this is kind of just going around the building. This is the corner of Landmark Drive and Commerce Parkway, so we really wanted to kind of dress that corner up, give it some height, put some logos on there, and then you're seeing our detention pond kind of down to the right there as well. This would be their front entry. Looking at branding it for Avid Real Estate and their subsidiaries. So there's some bolder colors with some of their logo. We're still kind of working through all that. They do have an upper deck outdoor area, which would have a metal pergola system, and then some large doors that could open up. This would be kind of farther away to the entrance of the property, so you can have some high visibility to that front door, lots of nice glazing, and then access to the back of the building, which would be access to the warehouse, loading, deliveries, things like that. Elevations, some of the products we're going to be using, insulated metal panels are going to be our primary products, but we'll be accenting with natural stone. And then that wood look metal panel, and the product that we're looking at right now is longboard. So real durable wood look. It's not going to fade over time. I know that was a concern with the group. And then our metal accents will be bronze, so for our storefronts, for our pergola system and our soffits and copings and things like that. And then insulated metal roof. So I included in this presentation what our phase 2 would look like. So that's the other corner. I know that there was a comment about what that might be. So really taking a lot of cues from phase 1 corner and mimicking it on the other side. Our client right now is working on getting a tenant, and if they do secure that, it'll go right away. So their brokers are working on that as we speak. So our intent is to try to do it all at one time, if it all works out. And we're kind of just going around the corner here. So the second tenant would need to have their own entry. On the back side there, they'd have a shared loading dock to phase 1. And we're just coming back around the building there. And that's kind of our high-level synopsis. We'll take questions. Again, our civil engineers here, and Jeff, architect, and myself, design. Take any questions you might have.
Probably kick it to Aaron and Kevin first, and then because they may address some questions right away, and then open it up.
So obviously this is an important corner in the park, and we've always kind of been holding out and hoping for a nice looking building on that corner, and I think these guys are really delivering that. It really holds its own at that spot, so I'm happy with that. I don't have a ton of conditions here. We are recommending approval with the conditions in the report. The first one is that, again, sign permits are a separate process. The second one, once they kind of figure out the mechanical system, if there are units on the roof, we just want to make sure they're screened per the covenants. We'll need to see the photometric diagram and lighting cut sheets for staff to sign off on. And some of the renderings here today were showing the phase 2. I don't think we had all of the details for that in the packet. So I think if or when that does go forward, we would want to bring that part of it back again for approval here at the Plan Commission and Board.
You got it. That was hot off the press, so I just wanted to include it.
And then Kevin, feel free to go over your stuff.
Sure. The comments that we had on it, we also recommending approval, just with working with them on some of these items as well. One of the items we noted, there is a sanitary stub that does exist off of Landmark Drive, and I believe I forwarded that to your engineer in between times between the review and now. I believe they'd asked for some of the records we had and stuff. So, but that'll hopefully allow not having to cut into Commerce Parkway to make a connection that's shown right now as well. We'll want to verify where the roof drains, and then basically right now it appears it's kind of the drainage is basically just kind of off each direction. We'll have to provide an on-site drainage system to basically kind of collect the water so it doesn't just drain out to the street or onto the neighbors as well. I think Aaron, mentioned the lighting plan as well. And then our other comments were basically, again, stormwater related. This site was not fully exempt by the DNR for infiltration reasons or for infiltration purposes. So the DNR had requested that an area be basically have some additional pits taken. So we forwarded that email as well, I think, to the engineer that was working on it. So that might be something that's in progress as well. But there is some. It's possible the site may get fully exempt, but DNR requested some additional borings to basically fully exempt it. So if it is fully exempt, really that the pond probably wouldn't even necessarily be necessary. If it's not fully exempt, then they'll have to do an infiltration basin, as they kind of have shown. Whether it's exactly in that location will depend on the soils that they have there. So, and then we've got a note as far as a long-term maintenance agreement. That's all dependent on if they have a stormwater facility or not that'll be on the site. So that's the only thing that's kind of left to be determined, I guess, is on that. That's really all we had as well.
Hey, Kevin, this is Dylan with JT Engineering. With that sanitary stub, would that be something we could get located?
I can check with JJ, the DPW, see if they can locate it. I'm not sure if they can locate it or if I know it's just parallel to the water service stub, at least on the plans there and everything, but we can check and see it. It did have at one time there was a post by it, so it may take some digging to find the post next to it.
Okay. Sounds good. We can talk later about that.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Aaron. Questions from commission members?
I don't have any questions. I think that the building looks really nice, and on that corner, I think it will be a great addition. So I'm looking forward to the businesses that will be going there then.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Melissa. Any other comments or questions from commission members?
I'd make a motion if we're ready for that.
If we don't have any questions, we can go ahead, Don.
Okay, I will make a motion to recommend approval for the a site plan approval request from Avid for approximately 19,600 square foot office light industrial facility on lot 1 of CSM 15197 in the Commerce Park, southeast corner of Commerce Parkway and Landmark Drive.
Thanks, Don. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alex. Any further discussion? All right, having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, first step is done.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for popping out. Moving then on to discuss and consider a request for approval for a site plan approval for Atlantis Valley Foods for approximately a 45,600 square foot light industrial facility on lot number 3, CSM 11263 in the Commerce Park. And this is immediately east of Seal and on Commerce Parkway.
We have Mike Swanson, who's the owner of Atlantis Valley Foods, and I see Alan Theobald, who's the architect. Not sure which one of you wants to take it, but feel free to go ahead.
I can jump in. I'm going to try to share my screen here.
Yeah, let me also introduce my son, who's also here, Michael Swanson Jr. down there. So.
Hello.
All right, is that working? Is everybody seeing my screen?
We are.
All right. So what we're doing here is just under a 5.5 acre site on Commerce Drive. The address is 303. Just north is plan right here. Just to the east over here is the Black Hawk airstrip. So what we're proposing here is just under 46,000 square feet. Office, light warehouse, truck dock, and the corporate kitchen facility here for Atlantis Valley Foods. We'll have about 50 people or so in the office area, same in the couple in the kitchen. Roughly 53 employees, 12 drivers, so right around 65 total employees at the outset here. What we're showing are 75 parking stalls on the site with some room to expand in the back if we have to. I know that's a concern at the present time with their existing facility, which is kitty corner across the street. Herb Road is right here. You're seeing the intersection. So Atlantis Valley's existing facility is right up in this area. Working with some staff comments early on, the skin of the building, what we're proposing is a metal panel on the warehouse end, and on the office end, a textured metal panel similar to what they've got in their existing building, but we're going to change up the color scheme here. So this is what would be facing Commerce Drive. And we're returning that textured panel, that's the gray panel here, roughly 30% on the east and west sides of the building. The back side of the building you're going to see here is just their truck docks. They drive through, they enter on the east end of the site at the end of the cul-de-sac, and then the trucks will drive through the garage, get loaded up, and then drive out and exit at the western side of their property. Again, working with staff, the comment we received is, with this panel, they would like to see a lot more generous landscaping out front. So we took that to heart, and what we're proposing, as you see in the report, far exceeds the requirement for the site. Really generously landscaping in front of this building and continuing down to hit the north side of the parking lot, and then continuing down to try to screen the front end of this parking from any traffic that would come down Commerce Parkway. Working through into the kind of the stormwater plan, the site is pretty flat. It only falls a couple feet north to south, and then it slopes off and pretty steep at the bottom. Just off the south side of the property, there's the regional stormwater pond. And so what we're proposing, most of the site's going to continue to sheet drain north to south. We've got our infiltration basin right here along the south end of the site. We are collecting all the roof water with underground storm system that will immediately get into this pond. And then we're collecting the parking lot water. That'll be underground storm again, mainly because it's too flat to get us down here. So there'll be underground storm collecting the parking lot water and getting that down into the regional pond as well. Minimal water will sheet off the eastern side of the site into that existing 60-foot drainage easement over here. Most of the water will continue to the south, but there is some, due to the vertical nature of this site, you're going to get a little bit of runoff this way. On the west edge of the site, we are proposing a swale to capture any water that hits here. All that water will be directed down, again collected, and then drained off the southern end of the site. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
All right, Aaron, start with you and then go to Kevin.
Sure, as Alan mentioned, there is quite a bit of landscaping on the frontage. For the zoning ordinance, they would typically be required to have 1/3 of the front elevation be masonry, but there's a caveat in there that at the discretion of the Plan Commission, you can accept excess landscaping in lieu of that masonry. I guess it's kind of for you guys to decide how much is enough, but I think in my opinion, they've done a good job with that. They're required to have 1,200 landscaping points, and they've got almost 2,000, and a lot of that is kind of pushed towards the front along the street and in front of the building. So, my opinion, I think they've done a good job and met the intent of the ordinance there. I didn't see details about what the trash enclosures look like, so I think we just want staff to be able to see that detail. And you can see up in the upper right corner of the drawing there's a temporary turnaround where the street ends that does go down onto their property. We just want to make sure there's an easement there that continues to keep that in place until it's no longer needed. And Kevin, if you want to cover your report.
All right, thanks. Yeah, we're also recommending approval, just with working with them on a couple items here. The plans that I had, I just made a mention, there were some door locations that looked like they were just different between the renderings and on the site plan at that time. So that was probably just the iterations we had at that time, but I didn't see any elevation issues or anything, but just something to note. I was working with the engineer at one point on extending the roadway curb through that drive, that he's kind of pointing to right now. Right now, water kind of sits basically right around that corner as well, and just kind of erodes out or whatever. So we thought it would be good to basically channel that water, put in curb all the way through that entrance drive right there where people would be driving in and out, just kind of protect the area around there as well. And then obviously with that, we'd have they're showing sidewalk going out there as well. We just have a sidewalk entrance as they've got it as well, an ADA accessible one. This is more of a note, but just the westerly drive on the property, as they mentioned when they go out of the building, that is over top of a village sanitary sewer easement that runs through there. There's other areas. It's more just a note for the village to know that the sewer does run underneath there. As well, we've got other places that items are built over top of the sewer easements as well. So it's just not the villages. If we ever had to do anything there, do any kind of repairs or maintenance or something, we need access to it at those times. So basically The storm sewer didn't have, the plans at that time just didn't have grades on them. Basically just something we can check when we get to more of the final plans, just to verify what elevations everything's at. That kind of also leads into the some of the stormwater comments as well, just verifying the capacity of some of the storm pipes. We'll need basically soil borings for the rain garden area as to if infiltration's needed and basically if it can be achieved on the site and everything. There were some details that were left out. There was a couple of utility questions. Really nothing major. It's just sizing, where we transition to sizings that we may want some reducers and possibly some like a clean out where a service line bends on the property as shown right now. I think besides that, we will need a long-term maintenance agreement for the stormwater pond, assuming that that's needed once that's the soils and everything are determined there on the south end. So I believe that pretty well covers it.
Yeah, I'll just chime in quick. We did have 5 soil borings up on the upper end of the site, and they all came back very positive, better than 3,000 psi bearing capacity. We do have plans to dig a test pit down in this pond. We just thought we'd get through your engineering comments, and then I think sometime in the next couple weeks we'll get that lined up and we'll get that information out to you as well.
Nope, that sounds good. Test pits actually are preferred for those type of things, so that'd be great.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Aaron. I will turn it over to commission members and see if you have any questions or comments. I guess I'll start just by saying that we're glad you chose to expand in Cottage Grove and the Commerce Park, and it's nice that you're a short distance from your existing facility.
Thank you. Yep.
Questions or comments from commission members?
I'm ready to make a motion.
All right, Don, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to recommend approval of the site plan from Atlantis Valley Foods for an approximate 45,600 square foot light industrial facility on lot 3 of CSM 11263 in the Commerce Park, immediately east of the Steel Building on Commerce Parkway, with conditions set forth by the village planner and village engineer.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Watson.
Yep.
Thanks, Alan. All right, and then we move on to item 10. We actually will open up a public hearing. This is the opportunity for public to weigh in on and provide input on proposed ordinance 2021 regarding pools and related safety measures. There is a memo and some other related information in our packet regarding this, and this was related or requested from a resident looking at different alternative for pool safety with an automatic cover, and asking if we could consider that in our ordinance. So with that, public hearing is open. If anybody from the public would like to speak on this particular item, they can do so. Again, please share your name, your address, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes, please. All right, hopefully everybody got an opportunity to find the mute button and unmute if they needed to. With that, then I will close the public hearing and we'll move on to item 11, which is to discuss and consider this ordinance 052021 regarding pools and related safety measures. Any questions from commission members or comments?
I can give a little background context, John, if there's questions.
Sure.
You want me to do a little background?
Do you want background on this or what? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I can give some because it came from the committee and it came, and so we sort of worked on it. I mean, I guess I'll just go into it a little bit. So, yeah, a resident of Cottage Grove was up, I think, against an open space, whether it's one of the conservancies or something, and said, hey, there's these other communities, neighboring communities here in Wisconsin and Dane County that have requirements for pool safety for a fence or this sort of automatic pool cover. Heidi did a great job doing a ton of research, trying to see what those other communities were doing, what the national standards were, what the Wisconsin standards are, and it's sort of a hodgepodge of information. But what we did find is there's several communities in Wisconsin that do allow for an automatic pool safety cover. And so, looking at those standards, statutes, ordinances mirrored what these other communities were doing into Cottage Grove. So you still require either one or the other. I guess you can do both. But the fence is what we have now. And there's requirements around that. And there's gates and other language, I think, around there. And then she rolled in this automatic safety cover, which again was a language she found in other communities within Wisconsin and actually in Dane County as well. So that's kind of where it came from. So we pushed through it. It was the board requested we look into it. That's what we came up with, and now it's here in front of Planning Commission.
Thanks, Alex. And I know we did discuss this before too as well, and asked the ordinance committee to go off and do that, and it's appreciated to dig into all this stuff too as well. And I know Heidi did a lot of digging and putting this together. So, any questions from commission members or comments? I mean, I think this is just providing a different alternative based on other standards that are already out there for those that choose to do one or the other, or as Alex said, if they choose to do both.
I guess I still have concerns about just having the cover and not having a fence around a property that has a swimming pool. I think that I would be concerned if there was just a pool with a cover without a fence, and if it was in an area where neighbors couldn't get a fence if they wanted to protect their family, like say they had young kids, they wanted to prevent their young child from going into the neighbor's yard with the pool. They might not be able to. So if we only had the requirement be a pool safety cover, I think there's more chances for someone to forget to have the cover go back on. Even with the sensor that Heidi has in her memo, if someone were to go inside for just a brief couple minutes to grab something and didn't hit the sensor for whatever reason, I mean, it only takes a short amount of time for someone to drown, especially a child. So I appreciate the research more into this, because I believe that the fence is a safer option for our community.
And we had discussion around that too, and sort of that the ordinance committee, worked through the options and then, kind of goes through the process. I think the next process is that it would go to the board, for final decision, as far as creating the language and moving through the process. Ordinance committee did that part. We did have conversation around, people can leave the gate open and what's the implications of that. The ball went over the fence, the kids going over there to get their ball anyway, type of things. And so a lot of that conversation revolved around some of that stuff as well. And I think the language in either direction, the liability is still on the homeowner, the property owner of the equipment that they own and the maintenance of it. So, absolutely, Melissa, a lot of some conversation around that as well. So good, but definitely good points.
Other comments, questions from commission members?
I guess I kind of agree with Melissa on this. Even with that sensor, it's an electronic device, and those are subject to not working for very long. And yeah, I understand it's still up to the homeowner, and I understand that a gate can be left open too, but I think it's just most of us have kids out there and know how fast a toddler can get away on them and be in a pool just that fast, and that kind of scares me. I guess the likelihood of it happening with a fence is a lot less than with no fence and any sort of automatic cover that is subject to breaking and not working and sensors not working and whatnot.
All right. Thanks, Don. Other comments, questions from commission members?
I don't have the existing ordinance in front of me, but do we require automatic latches on the fences around pools? The kind that swing closed and latch. That's to prevent leaving your fence gate open.
Don't believe it says that currently now.
It does. So in the packet, it does say the current and amended. So I think the current language is all gates and doors opening through the enclosure shall be kept securely closed and locked at all times when the pool is not in actual use. Gates shall be equipped with self-closing hinges and latch that is intended to discourage unauthorized entry by small children. Above ground pools, that has a whole nother set of things. I don't think we require fencing around above ground pools in certain instances, but you have to remove the ladder or have a removable ladder so that somebody can't climb up and into the fence. And then the amendment is basically all of that stays in place, but then adds the ability for that power safety cover. So that's the amendment that's in the packet.
Thanks, Alex. Other thoughts on this proposed change or?
Alex, was there anything referenced for studies that compared the two against each other, other than just opinions on, I think this one is safer and that one's safer?
We tried to do a bunch of research, and again, it's a little bit. It was about Heidi did a good job fact finding, but it was also a bit vague. A lot of times she's on these meetings, so the time she's not on, we kind of need her. And so, I think that there is statistics, pool deaths per year, and I don't recall how far we drilled into, which ones are better. I think the technology is evolving is really where it kind of comes down to, and there's the standard fence, and I agree. I grew up with a pool. My parents' house, and we had a fence, and that definitely is a deep mark of like, here's your safe area to play, and here's the fenced in area with the pool. So but as things I guess change, technology changes, there's opportunities for these types of updates. Kyle, no, I don't have statistics around which one's safer or less safer, more safer. So.
All right, thanks. I see a lot of pools with these covers that do close quickly and are very secure, and I can see the logic in the conversation. I just was wondering if there were studies referenced.
Yeah, I mean, we could work on that part. If that's the direction back to ordinance committee, we can pull that data, and I can see if Heidi has it available. We can bring it to the next meeting or so. I'm used to fences personally. It was definitely, sort of okay, we'll go here, and we worked on it, and so here we're at. So, but yeah, I can see technology changing and different options. And if you have a view and you don't want it obstructed, and there's other options that are functioning in other communities. So
Put a clear fence up.
yeah, one of those plexiglass things. Yeah. Self-retracting fence. So when the pool's in use, the fence comes down as opposed to the pool cover. Yeah. I mean, it was one, and just the background too. It was one request from a village resident. So I'm happy that we were able to work on it, and I'm happy that the committees were able to hear through this. Wherever this goes, it could come back again in a future state as technology continues to change, and that's why we're a dynamic community. So.
All right. I'm not hearing any. This is a discuss and consider. I'm not hearing any overwhelming.
You want to move to 11? I guess then that's the second part. Oh, like are we already?
We're already in 11. We're knee deep into 11.
We're knee deep in. Okay. Does the committee want more information, or is the committee ready to make a decision? Because if you want more information, I'll make a motion to table if you guys are comfortable.
I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing that there's continue with the ordinance as is what I'm hearing, but commission members can correct me.
I would like to see it stay a fence.
I think that's what I got from Melissa too as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what type of a motion to make.
Yeah. You don't want to make it double negative motion or anything, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess that you could just say the motion would be to deny the ordinance revision and leave the ordinance as it stands. I mean, that's fair.
Second.
I worked on this one too.
All right, we have a motion and second to deny the update for the pool ordinance. Any further discussion?
I don't think Alex is making a motion.
I don't think so either, but
I'll take it. I'll take the motion. I mean, I think the feedback is there, and and again, like I said, I'm happy to be part of these committees and create these directions. I think it's definitely an interesting to work through, and I'm glad I was able to work through it. I'm happy with the motion to not approve the 052012 regarding pools and safety related measures and leave the village ordinance as it currently reads. Formal motion.
All right.
Second.
Formal motion. Go ahead.
It's a formal second from me, and I just want to say that I'm glad that we have the ordinance committee that can look into these things deeper for us. And it also helps us review ordinances that maybe just need to be reaffirmed too. So your efforts on this were not in vain, because I think it is important. So thank you.
All right, we have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion?
Just for me, Alex, I think it is hard to make a decision without more information. I mean, I understand where it's going and what's currently in use is fine, but it is changing. Maybe leaving I don't know, is there an out in there that in circumstances where there's not neighbors or something behind that it could be a variance, or is that pretty followed, I guess?
It's going to be difficult to write an ordinance that contains exceptions. I think this will come back at some point. It'll come back through the process again as technology changes. I think one of the difficulties with this one is lack of a lot of federal guidance around it, and a lack of state ordinances around this one as well. I think state statutes, and so I think as those get more firmed up, it'll make creating these a little bit easier.
We also don't have ordinance police. So there are pools existing without fences in Cottage Grove. I just point that out. So
Fred just volunteered to set up a new committee.
No, I did not. I
heard a motion that Fred aren't picking up from Melissa there now.
All right, we do have a formal motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion then? Having heard none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody oppose? Anybody abstain?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Fred, we'd be happy to look into your complaints.
I'm not making a complaint. I'm just making
kidding.
a statement.
I'm just joking.
Fred's just an observer. He's just a sharer and an observer. That's all.
Hot tubs don't count, Fred.
I'm not saying anything more. I'm just saying you can pick any ordinance you want. You don't have ordinance, please.
Yep. And I know there are others that are being violated. Moving on then. That motion was approved.
Like, can we ask Rick what happens with this now? Does it dead or does it go to the board with a negative recommendation?
So
Rick doesn't like your motion.
no, I like the motion because it was clear what you guys wanted to do. I believe it would go to the board with the recommendation for non-approval, but I will double check the ordinances just to make sure. But that's typically what would happen, where the Plan Commission provides the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Rick. All right, then we will move on to update on the City of Madison boundary agreement. I know I haven't heard any updates, Aaron or Matt's. I don't know if we've heard back from Madison or the town recently. I'm assuming it's on here for a reason.
Very briefly, so we did meet, Matt and I met with two of the planners from the City of Madison. They are continuing their efforts with the town of Cottage Grove without us. And they also asked us if we would want to work on an agreement just with the city, leaving out the town, which I think this committee had indicated we were in favor of doing. So I think what we'd like to do is have those planners from the city come in maybe at our next meeting or the one after, whenever we have a lighter agenda, to just kind of go back over the maps and the intents and the process from their point of view as well as ours.
Anybody have any concerns with that? I know that we've had and provided updates from the town regarding our feedback from this commission. And I think that's why we're now kind of splitting this discussion and potential agreements.
One of the benefits of working on this with Madison is that we can lean on their resources, and they'll be taking the lead and generating and doing most of the work up front and getting all the documents in place. Certainly we'll obviously have our legal and Aaron review all that, but when it's the other way around, if it's the village with the town of Sun Prairie or the town of Cottage Grove, then it usually falls on us since we have the full-time staff. But Madison does a lot of these, so they have a whole department that works on these. So just a little bit of a benefit there that this won't be a additional drag on our resources.
Thanks, Matt. Any questions or comments, concerns from commission members?
Was that something where we want to hear what they have to say and then perhaps have a closed session to discuss, or do we want to review what they were looking at again before we talk to them, or wait and see what they have to offer?
I have a feeling it probably won't change from what we've already seen.
Okay.
But we
From a process perspective, Don, I think it makes sense that the meeting that they would come and speak to us in open session, we could have an option to go into closed session later in the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it is a negotiation, so that would.
Yeah, and you guys shouldn't be on the spot to, if there's, from a negotiation perspective, you shouldn't be put in that position with them. It's just you can listen and maybe ask them questions, and we can leave it at that in open session.
I like that idea.
All right, then we will move on, if there's no other comments, to future agenda items. We have a lot going on, and I can tell because when I talk to Matt and Aaron, they're going a little bit batty these days as well as legal, but that's a good thing. We like it.
Still have more Commerce Park projects.
Yep.
Not
Yep.
entirely sure they'll be in next month, but if not, probably the month after.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Matt, anything else? Nope, shaking his head. All right. With that, then, any other commissioners?
Actually, I have a question.
Sure,
It's
Fred.
not really an agenda item, but is there any plan to return to in-person meetings?
Yes, we are working on that. The Public Relations Committee is working with our cable staff, and Matt's having to push a little bit to look at an option to have both a hybrid model, so that those that are comfortable can come in person, and those that are not, from the public generally, maybe they're at higher risk or something like that, they'll have that option then to call in. So we're just trying to get that logistics and technology thing sorted out, and we're hoping that will be done fairly soon, because as more and more people get vaccinated or whatever, it would be nice to see people's faces again in person.
Thanks, John. It's not as easy as it sounds. So one of the issues is a lot of municipalities are going this route, and what that's doing is the service providers that do the installs to give us the technological capability to do meetings that way is kind of stressing the industry, and we're hearing about 2 and 3 month waits on installs for that. So that may cause some issues there, but we're gonna be working with our emergency government director, Lieutenant Wagner, we're gonna kind of put the room together as far as the current guidelines, Dane County Public Health guidelines would call for, so we can see what that would mean for in person. Because if everyone on this commission and our staff, hypothetically, let's say everyone is vaccinated, we could be inside unmasked, but the moment someone from the public comes in, per the current guidelines, I believe everyone needs to be masked, and we'd have to have public distanced. And the last time that we've had the room set up, by the time you have the board or commission, staff and consultants all with adequate spacing, there's not much room for public. So we really do probably need that hybrid option. But anyway, long-winded answer, but we're certainly working on it. It's just not an easy solution in the short term.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, thanks, Kyle. You beat me to it. Is there a second?
Second, a real second.
All right. Alex, you're a good sport. That's non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, everybody have a good week, rest of the week.
Good night.
Night.